Episode 2 of Getting Ready for General Conference. My name is Brad Davis. So good to see you, and thank you for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about the nominations report. Oh my goodness, the nominations report. If you didn't know, the nominations report has been updated. So if you got the original nomination report when it first came out, which was about 29 days before General Conference, sometime in June, you want to go back and check it out on the website. It's been updated, and we're going to talk about it a little bit today. So when we met 4 years ago, the decision was they're going to have a nominating committee where people can submit nominations, and those nominations would then submit a bio so that when we got to General Conference or got to the elections, we kind of have an idea who we're voting for. And so this is kind of was the heartbeat behind that, so that each nominee can present themselves, a picture, kind of give a short synopsis of the things they have accomplished and things they've been a part of, and to kind of help the General Conference, everyone in the General Conference, identify and know who they're voting for. It's a little bit different. So it's kind of been a challenge as people were nominated. Some people said no, some people said yes. But what's also cool about the nominating committee, this report, they're allowing also when we get to General Conference, when we get to the election part, that you can still nominate people from the floor. So let's talk about a few things that are going to happen. And I'm making a couple of observations for us, just for you to understand. The nominations report is out. There are people who have submitted their names for the 4 current positions that are available according to our General Conference. Right now, in our current structure, we have a presiding bishop, we have a world missions, executive director of world missions, executive director of EVUSA, and executive director of discipleship ministries. And so there are a couple things I know that we're looking at. One, as a General Conference, we can keep the structure the same, or we can adopt the new bylaws. And so for this demonstration, for what I'm about to explain to you today, we're going to look at 2 scenarios. Okay, actually 4 scenarios total, but they kind of all tie together. The scenarios are we keep our current structure and we keep term limits in place. The second one is we keep our current structure, but term limits change. The third scenario is that we adopt the proposed new structure and we keep term limits in place, or we adopt the proposed structure and we change term limits. And so let's talk about that, what that does to those who are currently in those positions and those who have been nominated. There's some things that are going to happen if certain decisions are made along the way. In our last video, we talked about how in bylaws, we're going to start probably on page 112, which is the general structure, starting with the general church, because we have to make a decision if we're going to approve this structure before we can elect a bishop, because everything kind of ties into the structure, whether we keep it the same or we move it. So our first graphic I'm going to put on the screen here for you is this. I want you to understand, I'm going to read this to you, that our current 2022-26 IPHC manual established term limits for the 4 executive offices. That allows an individual to serve no more than 3 consecutive 4-year terms in that same office for a total of 12 years. Now, we had COVID in there, so there was an extra year granted to some of those individuals. 3 of the 4 current executives have reached term limits. So we have the presiding bishop who has reached term limits, executive director of world missions, and also the executive director of discipleship ministries. Our executive director of EVUSA, Evangelism USA, still has 1 more term remaining. He hasn't fulfilled all 3 terms, so he has 1 more remaining. So here's the first thing that could happen, right? Structure stays the same. We don't make any changes in our structure, and we don't make any changes to term limits. So what does that mean? That means that the General Conference, when we gather, we're going to elect a new presiding bishop. Those nominations are in the presiding for presiding bishop are in the current nominations report. And also it gives provision for people to make nominations from the floor. So we'll also elect a new executive director of world missions. Nominations are in the report, and nominations will be taken from the floor. We also will elect a new executive director of discipleship ministries. So nominations for that are in the report as well, and we'll take nominations from the floor. And then there will be election for the executive director of EVUSA. Nominations are available for that in the report, and nominations can be taken from the floor. So what does this mean? It means that if, let's say, one of the three, if the current World Missions Director, EVUSA person, and Discipleship Ministries person, those directors, they go for bishop, one of them gets bishop, then there's two of them that, hey, you can't, there's no other job for you. So your term limits ended your ability to serve in world missions again. Your term limits ended the ability for you to serve in discipleship ministries. But if the EVUSA director of EVUSA, if he's not nominated and elected as the presiding bishop, he can be nominated from the floor, and he could serve another term in EVUSA. So that's scenario number one. Scenario number two is if the structure remains and term limits change. That means that we've decided that we're going to extend term limits, we're going to change term limits. Well, here we go. The General Conference, you're going to get to elect a presiding bishop. Nominations for presiding bishop are in the report, and nominations can be taken from the floor. Please note the current presiding bishop would be eligible for his name to be nominated in this scenario. His wife may have something to say about that, but we don't know. But he could. An executive director of world missions. Nominations for executive director of world missions are in the report. Nominations can be taken from the floor. Again, the current executive director could be eligible. We would be eligible and could be nominated from the floor. Again, we're going to elect an executive director of discipleship ministries. Nominations are in the report. Nominations can be taken from the floor. The current executive director could and would have his name eligible to be nominated from the floor. And then finally, again, with the election of the executive director of EVUSA, nominations that are in the report are available, and nominations will be taken from the floor. Again, the current executive director of EVUSA is eligible for his name to be nominated for this role. So again, if term limits go away but structure stays the same, everyone is eligible again to run for their current roles. And if anyone that's been serving in world missions, discipleship ministries, or EVUSA is elected as the bishop, then of course the other jobs are available if their names are nominated. But here's where it gets a little tricky. When we get to the third scenario, if structure changes. Now, when I talk about structure changing, I'm talking about just going by the proposed bylaws. I want to again state that when we get in the General Conference, anything can happen. We can make decisions about who we elect, how we elect, all that stuff. But just using that as our basis for this video. If structure changes, if we adopt the new proposed bylaws and term limits remain, then this is what's going to happen. You got to be ready for this, that all of the nominations from the Nominations Committee report for World Missions Ministry, Discipleship Ministries, and EVUSA will no longer be applicable. They are removed because those offices for election, they're changing how that's done. So what will happen is the General Conference is going to elect two things. Number one, they're going to elect a new presiding bishop. We're going to have the nominees are in this report, and we can take nominations from the floor. But then there's a new position that's been proposed. And again, I'm saying if we decide to go this direction, a new assistant superintendent, this is a new position. This new position was created from the proposed bylaws, and we'll have to take nominations from the floor for this position. And then according to the new proposal, the Council of Bishops, with recommendations from the presiding bishop and the assistant superintendent, will elect. So the Council of Bishops will then get to decide a new executive director of world missions and a brand new ministry position, a new executive director of church ministries. This is a new position. So note this. This is where it kind of gets a little tricky, but note this. The current executive director of EVUSA and the current executive director of discipleship ministries, both of those individuals can be considered by the new presiding bishop and the new assistant superintendent, along with the council of bishops, for election to this executive director of church ministries, because term limits would reset because of a new position. So please understand this. So if we go to a third scenario where we do structure change and keep term limits in place, then the General Conference will get to elect a presiding bishop and a new position called the assistant superintendent. And then we put our trust in those two individuals along with the council of bishops to elect a world missions director and this new position called church ministries. So I hope that kind of makes sense. That's if we adopt the new structure changes and we keep term limits in place. Now, here's the last tricky one. If we adopt the new structure change and we remove term limits, things shift a little bit. Again, reminding you that there are multiple things that could happen at General Conference. These are the 4 scenarios that I see, but again, anything can happen. If something does change, the chair of our business will tell us how to handle those things. But these are the 4 scenarios I personally see. So structure changes and term limits are also removed. So what will happen? The General Conference will elect a new presiding bishop. Again, nominations are in the report. Nominations can be taken from the floor. The current presiding bishop would be eligible if term limits are removed. Again, he'll need to talk to his wife about that. Also, a new assistant superintendent, that's a new position that's created by the proposed bylaws. Nominations from the floor will take place. The council of bishops, with recommendations from the presiding bishop and the assistant superintendent, will elect the director of world missions and the new position, the executive director of church ministries. Again, that's a new position created by the bylaws. Now, what does that mean for those who are currently in those roles? Let me just give you my notes. If this takes place, the structure changes and term limits are removed. The current executive director of EVUSA and the current executive director of discipleship ministries can be considered by the new presiding bishop, assistant superintendent, and then elected by the council of bishops for the position of executive director of church ministries. Term limits would reset because it's a new position. Number 2, if the current director of world missions can be considered by the new presiding bishop, the assistant superintendent, and elected by the council of bishops for the position of executive director of world missions because term limits have been removed. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of different things that can happen. I hope these graphics help you a little bit to know where each person could land. And so it can be a little confusing, but we're going to rely on the chair to kind of keep us up to date of how to handle each of those scenarios. One thing I do want to point out to everyone, if you got the nominations report, you see the people, you see their faces, you know many of them, and we are a denomination that's very relational. It's easy to find phone numbers. I would encourage you to call these nominees, ask them, what they see. What do they think about the study commission? What do they think about the future of the church? If they are going to be the bishop or world missions or discipleship ministries or EVUSA or that combined, I'd want to get some information from them. Don't just go into this vote blindly. Pray, do your research, call individuals. It's going to be a great time together. Again, those are the 4 scenarios. Feel free to watch this over and over again. You have any questions, you can reach out to me through Instagram. Just go ahead and send me a message that way. Again, so many scenarios that could happen at General Conference. I see these 4 as the most common, and I hope this helps you a little bit in understanding how all the structure change could affect us. And so thank you again for checking us out. I look forward to seeing you at General Conference July 15th through the 17th in Mobile, Alabama.